welcome to the Hawks Nest live stream show. My name is Brandon Kane, and you better believe I do. Thank you for tuning on in here today as you are nearly through your week. We find ourselves here through Thursday. This week is spun past in what is becoming a little bit of an elongated off season. Man, we seem still far away there from training camp, but we got mandatory OTAs being bumped up here soon, so at least we got a little bit of something to talk about as we come up. But you better believe we got something to talk about today. And that is going to be this franchise's left tackle. A couple of years ago, John Schneider made Charles Cross the highest drafted left tackle since Russell Okung. And if I'm not mistaken, though there's probably somebody in the 80s we grabbed early on, but I believe you've got Walter Jones, Okung, and then Cross as your highest drafted left tackles in the sport. And he came to Seattle, of course, with a lot of expectation, had a very good initial year. But then there was a little bit of some scuttlebutt even coming into last season through his second year that maybe somehow, he hadn't been reaching to expectations. In fact, there's even some videos that I think you can find into last year where there's some content creators proposing that maybe he was a bust. This is, of course, very far from the truth of Charles Cross. And though he did have a breakout season in 2024, he has been solid for your Seattle Seahawks here throughout his 3-year run. And more importantly, he's gotten incrementally better over all of the past 3 seasons, including last year where he was just really, really, really solid. But let's go into this a little bit. Let's take a little look at Charles Cross, a little game film. Let's look at some of the supporting statistics to what I'm talking about with this, because it is going to be only a matter of time. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets handled before the start of training camp that he is going to be extended and that he is going to be a $20 million a year left tackle in this sport. Part of the reason you're keeping your cap space free, I think, is just for this extension as much as any of them that you're looking to give out on this current roster. And he has well earned it. Let's not push that to the back. He has absolutely earned this extension. When you look at him from the PFF rank, we'll go through a couple of different factors here as we can. Of course, the offensive lineman, you don't have sometimes some of the traditional stats to go off of with them to make a determination about success or failure rate or any of that. But with Charles Cross last year in an offensive line that, let's not undersell this part, an offensive line that, had as much of a claim as any line in this sport as being the worst in football, he was able to find a real breakout season. He was able to be really, really good. And here you can see he was at 9th, basically tied for 9th, was Tristan Wirfs, who was a man with a lot of high reputation in the sport, guy that got, an all-pro season on the back of that 82.5 grade there for Tampa Bay last year. Bernard Raymond, another very good tackle. All of these names up here you see as legitimate. There's a lot of people that like to kick out the tires and put a knife in the tires of PFF in their rankings, and I get all that for some it's just they don't give anything to it at all. But I think the fact that you see all of these offensive linemen are all considered legitimate in this league, all considered very good players, and he finds himself within the ranks of that is, I think, a little bit should have opened a little bit of eyes to the fact that this is a very good player, and you're not just going to land there by accident. No, PFF doesn't have anything in their nature to give Cross a better grade or to look at him better for whatever reason, like he kind of carries a reputation, so to speak. And I'm going to show you in a second just kind of a representation of that. Keep in mind, remembering that he is the 9th highest graded tackle last year in the sport, still only 25 years old. The arrow is only going up for Charles Cross in that manner of things. As I spoke a second ago here, you do have a 3-year career where he has been pretty solid throughout. You can look about 64 is what would be a league average grade for pretty much almost any offensive position you want to go through. Somewhere in that neighborhood would be right about 64-ish. So you can see even in his rookie year in 2022, he was playing it like a league average place right at that spot. Got up into 2023, a little bit more improved. That incremental improvement you can kind of see there with that. And then last year, of course, really coming on strong. So an above average season 23, and then a top 10 rated left tackle season in 2024. And so he absolutely has not been a bust. He has not been a disappointment. He's been a very, very, very good player for you. And specifically, been very, especially last year, I think before last year, you were a little bit worried about the run blocking, and that was maybe the thing that was most worrisome for you as far as that stands. But he has come forward as a run blocker. He's gotten stronger. He's sort of filling out into his grown man strength shape. When you're a 21-year-old kid coming in, you're not going to be as strong and as able in that part of the game as you will probably a couple years down the line. Being in an NFL weight room, having the opportunity to get your body, fully right. You can see he's been pretty consistent on the number of hits and the number of hurries and the number of sacks given up, at least as far as that stance goes of things. Some of this is going to be affected by snap count, where last year 724 snaps allows the same hits, the same sacks, the same almost hurries, but keeping in mind he's doing that with almost, 175 more snaps on the books for him at that point, and almost 200 total more pass blocking snaps for that little bit of an uptick in hurries to go along. But you can see that it never really goes over the top. It stays pretty consistent as far as where he is, as far as those numbers go. Penalties went up just a tiny bit last year. That will, happen. Everybody's going to get their share of penalties, even the top-rated guys. But he's been a really good player for you. And I know PFF's not the end-all, be-all, but this is what you have to kind of utilize, I think, when you're looking at offensive linemen, because you just don't have those statistics that you would normally like to go upon. When you do look at the tackles in the sport and why I think it's going to be at $20 million, when we go through the left tackle contracts, the aforementioned Tristan Wirfs that I just talked about, he's on a 5-year, $140 million extension. So it's going to be pretty pricey, and I might even be a little bit low on the $20 million range. This thing might get up into more $23, $24 million a year. We'll just have to see. But as you can see, there is 11 players that are making at least $20 million or more from the left tackle position in the sport. So he is going to join the ranks on this. It makes a lot of sense as to why he should join. He's earned this contract. He's been a consistent player. He's been your best offensive lineman out there since he's arrived 3 years ago. So I've got no problem giving up this contract. As I said with PFF, they have no dog in the fight as far as, necessarily loving Charles Cross or liking him more. I think it's kind of interesting that they just came out with this top 25, essentially, top 32 left tackles in the sport. And here you have Cross, ranked 9th, as I showed you guys on his PFF mark. But if you look at this, they've got him all the way down here at 13th. So it's not like they're showing him artificial love with that rank that they give him, because you would have thought, look, he's 25 years old, coming off a 9th highest rated season for the tackle last year. Wouldn't he be top 10 at that point? And Vegas is saying, no, we're going to put him at 13. Despite playing arguably the worst offensive line in football, they say, Cross enjoyed a breakout season in his 3rd season, allowing pressures on an 8.1% of pass plays. In each of his first 2 seasons, he gave up just pressure on 7% of pass plays, with his 81.3 PFF pass blocking ranked at 13th at the position in 2024. Cross fared well in run blocking too, evidenced by his 15th ranked 77.9 PFF run blocking grade. That's the part that's been very encouraging for me. That was the real one question that you had with Charles Cross coming out was, okay, he's going to pass protect well. He's got NFL ability to do that. Young player, that's going to come along. He's going to be able to supply that for you, no doubt. But is he got the ability to be able to be a run blocker? Because when he was playing out there at college, they passed 73% of the time. And something that was notable about that is that people seem to make the determination that he wasn't going to be a good run blocker almost as much merely based upon how frequently he was passing the ball in college. He was coming from a spread system at that time. And they go, well, that just means he's not going to. It seemed kind of a leap in logic to me a little bit that he wasn't going to be able to come forward in this part of his game, because when he did run block in college, even though it was very infrequently, he was really good at it. He did a pretty good job at it. It wasn't a deficiency in his game by any measure. But let's just dive into a little bit of tape on Charles Cross and go into this one a little bit. We're probably going to do just a somewhat of a quicker show here today. I know I say that from time to time, but probably today this will be the case. But let's take a look at this, and I'm going to highlight a couple of specific things that I want to show you here on the tape with him. Number one, we're going to look at the pass blocking right out the gate, because that's what is his bread and butter and what he does do best. He has come along where run blocking's right there step for step with his pass protection, but he's a lockdown guy out there. The other parts I want to show is how he deals with the bull rush. I think early on through his first year or two, with waiting on that strength to come along, you'd sometimes worry about him in bull rush situations and being able to root down and be strong, and that, those stronger, bigger guys could kind of take advantage of that, I think, early on. Don't think that was as much the case last year, and that he got better in that in a large measure. Then the other two aspects are to look at a little bit of some of the zone-centric blocks that you ran last year to see how he might fit to this new zone-based scheme. And then also how he blocks on the move. Can he get out in space? Can he do those blocks? Because these are going to be other blocking assignments that are going to be requirements of this offense. Spoiler alert, yes, he can do all of them, by the way. But let's look at this stuff here real quick, if we shall. Get down to my thing here. Never seem to find it. There we go. All right. So let's look at some pass protecting reps here. And obviously your eyes are going to want to go to the left tackle here on your screen when you're looking at these highlights. I'm going to breeze through these pretty quickly because I think this is stuff that we already know he's got and he can do. But right out the gate against the Broncos, first game of the year, you saw him. You could see that this was going to be a good year. This thing was going to come forward this season. There's a lot of really good blocks from this game just to start out things. Broncos had some pretty good edge rushers at this time. They ended up trading this guy to the Cardinals later on in the year, but you had Benito there too. Handles the spin move inside, clears him all the way through the pocket. There's a lot of reps here with him where I would call them dominant reps without having to be physically dominant reps. That he's just playing to his technique, and he's getting, in this case, what I'm calling almost mannequin snaps. And I call them mannequin snaps because you almost end up in a position here where you end up standing up the pass rusher and almost bringing him to a dead stop. So you're standing him up like a mannequin, almost like he's donning some clothes here. And just watch how he gets this edge to a point of giving up on the rep. I mean, he's pretty much given up on that rep almost. And just fully controls him. The strength, the grip strength, all that's locked in now. Just good base, hands in the right spot. Technically, everything's is good and clean. He's become a very, 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 I'd say, close to dominant pass protector. And boy, you just wonder at times how much better he's going to be when you actually have an offense that can be a little bit more unpredictable in what it's showing. Because I think that offenses he's played at here recently in Seattle have been, the last 3 years of his career, been more often than not, very, very predictable. Off the edge here, completely neutralizes. You see there, no opportunity. Just that's a dominant rep. Just ushers him right out the back of the pocket. No problemo. A lot of good reps like this out of Charles Cross last year. Here we go again, left side for you. Or the right side, he's left tackle, excuse me. Again, 52 is going to try to take another run at him here. And he tried him on the outside, tries him on the inside on this one. As you already seen, though, the spin move don't work against him, and that's not a bad spin move. Charles is with it every way, and I showed you on that last rep, the one prior to this, 52 tried to press him at the edge to set this move up. So he's hoping he gets Cross too extended into his pass set to where Cross will go out too wide and he come back inside on this, but Cross is on it the whole way. The whole way. And here, I think that's Benito, I believe. On the left side, you're going to look to the left side of your screen here. 67 just controls the reps. Stays in front of him. Really good at mirroring. And this play is going to be a touchdown. Charbonnet over the top. Initial impact there. Doesn't give up much ground. He's right there. How about Detroit? How about a little bit of Hutchinson here? Coming off the left side. Got Hutch and Cross matched up here, one-on-one. Hutchinson with a lot in his bag. Ends up on the floor. Completed pass. Gets him to the edge, dirts him up. Nice throw by Gino, nice catch by DK. He's kind of trying to Euro step him too here. You can see him kind of take that little Euro step to the outside. He goes a Euro step inside, outside, inside, outside. Crosses with it the whole way. Again here with Hutchinson. Little cross chop down move here. Chop the hands down with the spin. See, Hutchinson's such a good pass rusher because he can do a couple things at once through the pass rush. Chop and spin. I've already showed you the spin move don't work on Cross. That's a no-go for him. But good reps here against Hutch. Did a nice job. He'll be on the right side of your screen now. Right here. Boom. Got him right there. I like that this is just a little bit of the acumen with time that you get. Because you go post-snap with Cross, and he's got nobody on him here. So some tackles are going to get pulled up quickly into going to the defensive tackle and helping out. I got no one to block. No one's coming. Let me help out my guy. And he thinks about doing that for a sec. Head turns to him here. Watch the head turn to the defensive tackle. Okay. Maybe I should help out. But instead of doing that, he keeps himself clean for that edge because Fant's getting a chip here, but that edge is still coming. And then he dirts the edge up. I'll watch it full speed again. Okay, I'm okay. Dirt this edge. Nice job thinking on his feet, being reactive. If defensive tackle had, created some quick penetration on that play, he's there and ready to be able to neutralize the quick penetration from 91. Gets back out on the blitzing cornerback and is able to just knock him away there. You get the nice completion. That's a first down. You got New England here. Charles Cross again here on your right side of the screen there. I'm back again. Ready to go. I love the little anticipating the hand movement here, but still resets his hands. Watch him swipe that hand down. Swipe. Swipe. He's anticipating it. He kind of guesses wrong, doesn't he? The hands aren't coming at that time. Instead, the guy's going to just try to take the edge. He sort of shows him initially off the front here. He's feeling like I'm going to get some hands fighting here. So he kind of shows those hands starting to work. Okay, I'm going to get the hands. And he tries to rip down the hands and make that go. There we go. Completed pass. You like it when you can still get the rep win even when you guess wrong mid-play about what's going on. Against the Cardinals. Right here to the right side. Left tackle here. Abe Lucas back by this point. Play action pass. This is another rep that I would call a damn near mannequin rep. Gets down on the defensive tackle. Stands him up. And look at how the defensive tackle, I know it's hard because he's kind of down blocking here to the defensive tackle, but just look again how he just stands him up, brings him to a stop, and that's mid-play. It's mid-play, he's bringing him to a stop and making him give up. This is the kind of stuff, I'm not saying he's Walter Jones, but this is what Walter would do. He would get certain guys to a place where they just feel like there's nothing they can do, and they just kind of give up mid-rep. Mannequin reps. That's what I call this, mannequin reps. Stand him up tall, put him in a display case. You might as well, for all the good that he's doing for his defense on the play. Here we got a little bit of a test against Jared Verse here, coming blindside. They got into some good battles last year. Verse gives him a couple things. Gives him a couple moves here. First, the downward hand swipe, then goes to the long arm bull rush, and then just tries to kind of stick his helmet into his chest and drive him back there. Pretty incredible play here by Geno Smith spinning out of that to throw the touchdown. But you can see here he's with it all the way. It's not really Cross giving up that pressure, forcing that. Packer rep here. How do you deal with power? Got a big old strong 90 up on the right side of your screen. Deals with the power really well. And what do we get? Another stand-up mannequin rep. I'm going to spin around and then just end up standing tall and getting not a lot done. Mannequin rep. Right there. So you guys can get the understanding and idea here. Pass protection, working through different moves, the spin move neutralization, the lack of ability to take the edge. There's a variety of things in pass protection he can do. More than just, I'm going to get my hands on you and just throw you around and bully you. I can be technically sound. My feet are going to be in the right place. My mirroring ability is going to be on point. I can get things wrong and still correct. I can reset my hands if you knock them away, or I even on that one rep where he's thinking he's getting the hands and he doesn't, but still gets himself back and in control and in position. Really reactive, really quick with what he's doing out there post-snap as far as the pass protection. And there's no holes to his game on this side of it. You used to be able to get after him just a little bit used to with the bull rush stuff. That could be where this could be a little bit problematic with him in the past. Jared Verse here. Yeah, that's Verse, I think, coming on this one. Verse here off that same side. Or actually, no. I think he's getting he gets Byron Young here. So you get Byron Young here over on this side. Show you a couple reps here where you can see some improvement with him with the bull rush. He's never going to be a pure, super strong guy, but he has gotten stronger and he's gotten better at doing this. And you're trying to hit this throw down the field, so you need the pass protection to hold up a little bit for this throw to work. Geno's got a chance to kind of double clutch this. Another just insane throw here by Geno in this game. Pressure bearing down from Kobe Turner coming right up the middle, who you had a double team on. Man, the line was bad last year. This is one of those things where the line just looks horrible on one part and crosses over doing his job. Nice job dealing with the bull rush. Another one here with the bull. Again against the Rams. This time he is going to have to deal with Verse coming off that other side there to the right side of your screen. I marked Verse. Here's Cross right there. Bull rush here. Boom, boom, boom. Little ground, but doesn't just get completely beat up on it. You're going to give a little ground on this. You just don't want to be put on skates. Actually, I'm sorry, that's Byron Young again. No, that's Verse. No, that's Byron Young. So it's not perfect on the bull rushes, but it's good enough. It's improving. We got Hoked. 97 on that side. Going to try him again with this. Players try this a lot because this is used to be the way you kind of could get after him occasionally, is hit him with that bull. Just get up to full speed, and it's tough here. Look at how many steps. Hoke gets like 4 steps before he rams into Cross. Touchdown. Great catch by Jackson Smith-Njigba. Just gets a good running start to get into him, but does a good job of holding it up there, giving Geno the time. Have a nice little pocket here. Braden Fisk kind of creating some pressure there late. Well done. Couple more little bull rush here. Leonard Floyd ends up off his feet on this rep. This was a nice rep to me that shows that increased power. When you're locking up like wrestlers at the center of the league, there's no hiding strength or power at that point. You got it or you don't. Gets him down to a knee. A little bit of help from Charbonnet. A little bit of a help there with Charbonnet on that. I'll give him that. But still, controls him. Charbonnet kind of saves the day here because he does end up on one foot. Does end up on the 1 foot. That's not good. But keeps his balance. Reroutes down. Doesn't give up the pressure. So it's coming along. Bull rush. Still a place where people can attack him at times, but overall, it's been fine. Right side of your screen here. I think that is, again, Hutchinson he's dealing with. Does a good job of handling the bull rush nicely. He's got help there, but he doesn't even need it. You can see Charbonnet comes over to help, and he's like, oh, you're good. I'm going to get on my route. You're doing just fine. You're okay. You got this. So the improvements come with him as a bull rusher. Definitely a part where you could get after him a little bit early on in his career, here and there just a little bit, but now it's gotten solidified down now. So let's look at a couple of other parts that I want to kind of isolate. First, let's look at the run blocking element of things and how that's worked here with him, because that's another part that we had kind of been concerned with here. And you can see him on the left side of your screen here, down by the goal line. Hard to run out of goal line. Defense knows you're going to do it. And this is as much of an indicator here of good zone block. So does Cross work in zone blocking? Well, kind of a skill in zone blocking is how well you can handle the double teams. And then can you peel to the next level eventually? And this one he doesn't peel. They double team and just drive. But he can absolutely work the double team. He's got that in his bag to be able to do it. Did a lot of it last year. Well, at least you worked it in a good amount last year. Here he's going to be on the right side of your screen. Across right there. Now the run play, it's going to go right over his side. He gets there on Allen. and gets him neutralized out. That's a tough block. That kid's a big old dude down there. You know, is it a dominant rep? No, but in zone blocking, you don't always have to be dominant. Sometimes it's just angling out a certain way and getting the guy to sometimes even take himself out of the play. But this is going right over 97 side. He arches a little too far inside. Cross takes advantage of that and just keeps him angled out of the play. Complete win on this rep from Cross. Sometimes you can take advantage of bad movement by the defensive tackle post snap. You know, they take 2 or 3 steps the wrong direction and you can have them without actually having to move them. There's Charbonnet with a big run from week 14, I think, or so. Cross over here on your left-hand side. Going to go right over his side again here. Gets locked up, clears his man out of the place. So hard to tell on this, but this is technically a reach block because you can see the defensive end is not in front of him. The defensive end's technically heads up over the guard. So this is another block that's going to be like when you're going to execute in this offense, where you're coming over and hitting the guy kind of from his shoulder. So you're hitting the outside shoulder of the defensive tackle, and then you're angling him. Watch Cross turn his body and angle. You don't have to drive the guy 3 yards away. If you angle him to the side like this, there's no pathway for the defensive tackle to get back into this play. And he just controls him the whole way. I mean, he just absolutely hands in the right place. Look, hands inside, not getting wide, stays on the block, angles him out of the play. These are the type of block zone stuff will lean on at times, along with the pulling people in space like you're doing on this. This is kind of a gap-based play in a lot of ways, but he's essentially doing what will be a very equivalent block to the zone-centric block, which is to hit those reach blocks. The guy's not right in front of you. You're going to have to step laterally to get to him. But there's the good side of it, meaning that you're not going to have to drive him off the ball. Just angle him away out of the play and you'll be fine. So run blocking has come back in a real big way. This is another one of the big plays in this game. You're going to have him here executing 2 blocks on this play, if I'm not mistaken by my memory on this one. Another thing you're going to be doing in this zone-centric scheme. So first, get that block, get to that block, and you're gone. Take note again. These aren't dominant blocks, but you're executing your blocks. First, make sure this guy's out of the play. He's out of the play. Then get to the next guy. So let's go slow with this. First, help out your left guard on the defensive tackle. Okay? 67, boom. Look at the movement. Boom, boom. Getting a bit of movement. He's out of the play. Now climb to the safety. Get a hat on a hat with the safety. And look, he doesn't have to be dominant then on this rep. Just get your hands on him. Knocks him backwards here. Look at this. Watch him going backwards there. Bump, bump, bump. That backwards is enough to set him off from not being able to then go get Charbonnet. So I'll play it normal here again. Boom. Clear him off. Touchdown. Zone-centric system. You block to space. You have an initial responsibility. Again, this is kind of gap with you're pulling the 2 guys across, but he's running some zone-centric stuff and first helping the block and then climbing down to get the defender in his space. Just a great job here by Cross all the way around. Gets movement initially there, then gets on there. It's a lot harder doing that than that looks. When this is live fire and everything's moving 100 miles an hour, it's very hard to time this up this way. So I know running the ball wasn't great last year and definitely a lot of room for improvement in that way of things. But Cross did come forward in this way. His grade is legit in this when you watch the tape and that he's getting a lot of wins in the run game. The fails don't seem to be coming from him. Here a double team at the point of attack on Andrew Van Ginkel. Again, the kind of block you're going to do in the zone-centric scheme. And they go right over his side. Look at that nice little hole there for McIntosh. Nice little tasty hole there for McIntosh going right over Cross and Tomlinson. Absolutely, he's come forward as a run blocker and he can be a factor in this. It's not he's holding on for dear life. He's a factor in this part of his game. Again, a play where it's going to go right over his side to the left-hand side of your screen. 67 is the guy you want to lock in on here, running right over his side. clears his man out of the hole. You go, well, that's not a great big play. Look where this ball's starting. That's like a 6-yard gain. That's a very successful run play right there. And I know his man eventually makes the tackle, but he's making the tackle after the running back's got the 6-yard play, and you've already moved him out of that hole. Look at 67 here. Watch the hole open. Right there. Barner comes in with a nice block, but there you go. And that's as good as it's going to get as a running back right there for you to work through. And Barner, if anything's really the guy that needed to sustain better on this play. But Cross, look at his movement. Kind of just, again, using on a couple of these reps, you just use the defensive lineman's movement against him. He goes in the wrong direction, and you usher him out. Let him take himself out of the play. Two and one again. Great run play. Got to be a thinker at the position, not just a hammer of old. You don't just get guys now that are lined up in front of you, and that's the guy you're blocking all day, and you don't have to think very hard or long about it. Sometimes you got to do two things in one. Get this guy isolated, make sure the backside guy doesn't get to the running back. So help out Lincoln, get that controlled, get your hands back out here. Probably didn't need to. 55 wasn't going to get back in on this play. But the fact he's got the wherewithal to stay with it on this, he knows the key with knowing you can peel off the first block is that Lakin's got this controlled. So he knows that this play is going behind Lakin's back as far as the run play. So when he can feel Lakin angled like this between ball carrier, where you got ball carrier, Lincoln, and then defender. So he goes, okay, I know that this block's sealed and legit now. I can climb back out to 55 to make sure that he doesn't get back in this play. Because Lakin's guy's got no chance to get back into this now. Very smart on his feet, Charles. Very quick, very aware in play. And you do love to see this from your tackles because this is a skill. There's a lot of guys that just need to know who they're blocking prior to the snap and what's my job, and okay, I'm going to lock into that. A couple more few ones here to show you on this. Again, kind of a zone-centric one here where now it's the opposite from the prior rep. So Cross now has to control the defensive tackle. Lakin helps him, and then Lakin climbs. And the man's controlled, moved out of the hole there, left side of your screen there with Cross, 67. Good control, hands inside. Drive blocks nice, keeps the feet moving. Look at those feet. Boom, 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 boom. Keep those feet going. It's a nice little run play. Again, that gap thing here with McIntosh. Running a lot of this in this Cardinal game. 67 right here to the left side, just next to Barner. I'm going to call that a pancake. The defensive tackle doesn't quite end up on his knees, but pretty close. Pretty close. And that's a defensive tackle. He's doing that too. That's not an edge. So how do you know the power's coming along? How can you feel the power's coming along with Cross? Well, when he's doing this to defensive tackles, that's how you can feel it. That's how you'll know. Last one here on the run block from the last Rams game here. Heads up again over a defensive tackle. This is a little bit of a harder pull than this guy that you're going to typically get off the edge. So you got to take on the defensive tackle. Can you handle those duties at times? You're going to be required to do this in this scheme. Take advantage of the guy's bad movement. So in 92 walks himself out of this play, and you just take advantage of it. That can sometimes be the difference between a well-executed block or not a well-executed block. But know what block is required for what the defender does post-snap. And if they're going to make it easy on you, then let them. I know I said one more, but let's get one more in here. Last run block rep, and I just want to show you some ones with him on the move. He's on the left side of your screen. Seal him up. Charbonnet gets a nice run. Hands, look at the hands inside. They don't climb. They don't get up around the neck. It's on the shoulder, but the hands are inside the shoulder there. That's never going to be called. Not the way he's blocking that right now. That's pristine technique on that. Keeping his feet moving. Doesn't have to move him far here. I mean, he only gets him about a 2 or 3 yards, two yards maybe pushed back, and after it really goes through the length of the play. But he gets him isolated, and the guy's just not going to be in on it. Nice big run on this play. The last little aspect I wanted to talk about here with him is the blocking on the move. You're going to have to, whether you're a tackle, guard, center in this offense, pull out in front, pull back across the formation, climb up to the second level, go find yourself a linebacker or a safety. I showed you on a couple of these reps that went against the Cardinals that Charbonnet busted out, for instance, that he absolutely can do this type of stuff. You know, he's got that, you know, in his bag, no doubt about that. But you've got to be able to block on the move in this offense. It's got to be a requirement. The nice part about this is that we do know that Cross and Lucas can both do this. And coming both from a background of air raid in college as they did, is stuff that asks you to do that stuff where you got to sometimes block on the run. You don't always do a lot of run blocking in this offense, but when you do it, you'll oftentimes then have to do that moving it on the move. So we've got some snaps with him where he actually had to do that last year to kind of work off of there with him and to see. And this is my favorite rep of the season from Charles Cross last year. This is my favorite because not only is he getting down there and getting to the second level and getting on a linebacker, not only is he driving the guy 10 yards down the field like Michael Orr in Blindside, but then he dusts him up with a pure pancake at the end. And then just to put the exclamation on point, you're going to get a touchdown here from our Mr. Kenneth Walker as he gives you a Superman jump into the end zone just to put that exclamation point on it. But watch what he does to the former Cody Barton here on this snap. Just dirts him up, and then Walker goes in and gets a beautiful touchdown. Right there on 55, dirts him up, Walker in for the TD. So take it slow here, 67 on Barton, gets him heads up. Look at just even the subtleness of getting to the inside shoulder of Barton, just to make sure he's got no pathway there to get there. And then he's just going to drive him. Drive, boom. You've just been dirted. Great stuff here from Cross. Executes the block with ease, and that's a dominant rep. We're here against the Broncos here. The right side of your screen, you're looking at 67, so you're going to want to lock in right there. First, get your hands on the first guy, stay on 49. Well done. Not a dominant rep, just first isolate 98 a little bit, help your guy out, then get to the second level. Slight 2 for 1 here, but does get to 49. Does do a good job of getting down there to him. Okay, he's going to be quiet. Okay, so this is that reach block I showed you a little bit like. We wasn't able to show you this very same angle, but this is essentially like what you get in a reach block. The guy's a little bit to his inside shoulder rather than being a full-on heads up over the guard. Sorry, one sec. We got to lose their mind here. He's not heads up over the guard, but it is a slight reach block where you've got to get then down to that. And this is a guy that's going to be a bit bigger and stronger than you're normally used to dealing with as far as edges. But look at the nice movement he gets right there. Nowhere to really go because other guys don't get their block laid here. Namely, Connor Williams kind of struggles to get his stuff sustained. But a nice little bit of getting to a block that's not right in front of you, and for a more bigger, powerful guy than you would have to deal with, and you get some actually pretty good movement there. Not bad. He's not a dominant rep, but it's a good one, and you're going to do this a lot in this system. Gets out in space here against the Broncos again. It's going to climb down, get to 49. Gets the block laid, gets him isolated on the ground. It's a good rep. Kind of speaks a little bit to you're hitting him a little bit off, you're able to catch him kind of off guard here a little bit, but just off contact, you end up with the guy on the ground. Sorry, 1 second here. Go with couple more reps here on the move-based block. We got him on the outside. He first guy is going to come down to the technically defensive end, get a pair of hands on him, and then get down to the second level and climb up and get the block laid. Boy, Sato Lamea, man, just crushes this guy too. Sato does him a little dirty there. Does him a little bit dirty there. And this is for that touchdown run we saw, but hands initially, get to the second level block. I showed you this play already, just kind of an alt angle on it. We'll do the last one here. Down by the goal line, always hard to run it in by the goal line. Defense knows it's coming. 67 here. He's going to get down onto the second level. You can see he's uncovered at this point. Climbs down, gets there. But you don't have to lay the block well when you get there. You just need to be heads up in front of the guy. It's a lot about not blowing the block as much as it's dominating the block. And this is where I'd really tell you that there's really kind of the difference in the zone scheme from your typical man-on-man, gap-based scheme. Because a lot of times gap-based scheme, the guys that aren't pulling in space are going to have to just kind of block things a lot of times just heads up. But the zone-centric scheme can be, I'm going to go take a step over here to this defensive end who doesn't know I'm going to block him. He thinks it's going to be the guard blocking him. I first hit him with the surprise. Then I just got to be on that inside shoulder and make sure I keep myself between him, his inside shoulder, me, and the ball carrier. And the ball carrier is going to be running like hell, getting downhill very fast. That's what you tend to tell running backs in the system to do. If you're especially going into kind of power runs, A, B gap runs, get downhill. Don't think about it. Your guy's going to have that block laid for an initial just a half a second. But as long as you get through there on a timely point, and you're not sort of stopping and looking around and doing a little juke move and thinking about maybe where you want to go, but you just get there, it's going to be there. The hole's going to be there. You're going to get a plus play. And there won't be as many of those plays within a zone scheme where it's going to be as much of like the 50, 60, 70 kind of yarder runs that are opened up there for you, like you'd get in the gap runs. That Charbonnet runs I showed you from last year, McIntosh on a couple of those runs, those are coming from a place of you trying to bust those runs out and hammer and get something big. Zone-centric system is going to be more about making sure we're getting the 4, the 5, the 6 yards and consistently. It's also going to attempt to try to remove down those negative plays, those plays of penetration. So there's a plus side to it too, where, okay, we don't get as much of the 40, 50-yard runs, but we're going to get more of the consistent 4 and 5-yard runs and none or as very little of the negative 1-yard run, the negative 3-yard run, the running backs getting hit in the backfield incessantly right after they get the handoff. That stuff should go away with this offense. More positive plays means more third and shorts. More third and shorts means more moving of the chains, more consistent drives, more controlling of the clock. This is the nature of this offensive beast. It scores points, but it's controlling things as much as anything else all the way around. And Charles Cross is an absolute fit to this new scheme. He can handle everything you need in pass protection. He can get to every kind of block you're going to ask him to get to into this scheme. He can double team up with another guy and scrape down and get to the second level of things. He's coming along as a player. He's 25 years old. He's really only, theoretically, even going to get even just a little bit better, but he has realized his upside. This is the guy that we hoped we were getting when we made him such a high pick. And so if there's any more talk, and I think that this has finally been put away with that last year and what he did last season of, is he reaching expectations? Is he that guy? Is he going to be worth this contract extension? And I know that they did activate his 5th-year option, but he's going to be extended. And I would estimate before the start of the season. He's earned this contract. It was a great pick by John Schneider. And hopefully this is the guy that you can continue to kind of build around with this offensive line. Because if both him and Abraham Lucas can really fully realize that pillar status that we hoped each of them could be for this offensive line, now we can really concentrate on this interior and getting this figured out. And then finally, maybe fully solving this offensive line problem that has been an issue for so many years. You guys let me know, though. Do you think Charles Cross is just on the edge to becoming a dominant player, a star in this league, a guy that we'll be looking at as the Pro Bowler for at least 4 or 5 times over the next 5, 6 years, kind of in that range, maybe even a guy that can scratch the surface of being an all-pro? You never know. I think one thing that stands out when you look at everything all through the wash of last season is that he had this great year where he really did take a step forward. And he had this great year where he really did take a step forward, and yet he did so in a storm, in a hurricane. You know, he sort of was keeping his ship afloat in the Bermuda Triangle, where you've got planes going down and cruise liners turning over. Cruise liner being, of course, Laken Tomlinson, because he's just so big. And this is all happening around him, and yet he's able to find stable footing and still perform really well. How much even better is he going to then look when some of the rest of the line is playing up to snuff? And now you're able to go out there and be more consistent, and that, you know, you saw in some of those reps, he's out there winning the rep, doing his job, being dominant. Somebody else blows their rep. It's a bad play. Offense stilts. You don't get as much of that opportunity to really show how good you are doing. And so having the season he did, while the offense wasn't necessarily particularly good, wasn't necessarily particularly consistent, had many different issues all across the board, from play calling to the rest of the offensive line to injuries, robbing you in certain spots. And so I think that there's even more of that opening here for him to be even better this upcoming season, to be even more improved, to see that PFF grade even go even just a bit higher. We shall see. You guys let me know. Are you in on it? Are you prepared to go pay Charles Cross $24-25 million per year if that's the new cost? Has he earned that in your opinion, or do you need to have another year? You want to let it wait out? Do you want to try to use that 5th-year option as a potentiality here just to make sure that you're certain? I'd be interested to hear what you guys got to say. I thank you guys for watching today. If you could for me, I would really, really appreciate you guys hitting the like button. We'll probably do kind of somewhat of a quicker, little bit of a show here today, as I'm just kind of bouncing in and out. But I did post yesterday for members of the channel on the community posting. So look over in your community posting. I've got a link to Sunday's show for the call-in show at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So do please be on the lookout for that. We'll be getting going on that side of it. I hope everyone is having a great day. Dude Moose is kind of touching on a little thing of exactly what I'm speaking to a bit, where he says, I'm all for efficient offenses that can hold down the field, but I'd like to see us dominate time of possession. I feel like I've just watched subpar Seahawks defenses for the last several years. Yes, and I think that the subpar defenses are certainly not going to be aided by inconsistent offense, and that the offense has had moments where it's really gotten hot and looked good at times through the 3 years of Geno here. And then there's times where it just goes completely cold, and that there's not, much you can work off of. The defense has had its own issues within this, of course, and those are worth noting. They got improved last year. But this is where I think you want to control time of possession, you want to be that kind of team, then you've got to do so from a purposeful standpoint. It's more about just like, well, we'd like to control time of possession. It's got to be inherently a part of your designs. And so what I mean by that is just what I'm talking about doing in regards to the zone-centric scheme and the nature of this West Coast offense in general terms, which is that the point of the offense, in the heart of the offense, is we're going to move up the field. We're going to be patient in moving up the field. We're going to embrace that. We're not looking to make this quick and make this fast. And I think that one thing that you did have with Coach Carroll, and this isn't to throw shade at Carroll, this is really just about philosophy. It's not a bad thing. It's just a philosophy thing. And that is with Coach Carroll, what do we know about what he wants with his defense to prevent the big play? But then the inverse of that is then being that you want to be so protective of that defensively from a Carroll perspective, then offensively, you want to be really leaning into the big play. And you can't do everything at once all the time. And so what do you want to be as an offense? Well, we want to be more built around trying to find those big shots down the field. That's where the onus is for us. Versus an offense that says, we'd like to try to just move this ball patiently and slowly if we have to up the field, that we embrace that we're okay with that even the designs of our offense are built within to do that, like the run-centric nature of it. You have a gap-centric scheme, or you're going to be trying to hit those big runs. Okay, well, that's at the sacrifice now maybe of we might have penetration on this play. We might get more negative plays. We might end up in more 2nd and 12s, 2nd and 13s. And there is that stat, Dune Moose, that last year I remember that stood out so very much, which was that since 1980, when the Elias Stat Bureau had created this stat, see if I can find it, but when the Elias Stat Bureau had created this stat, that the Seattle Seahawks were the team that averaged the longest down and distance on third down of any team in the modern NFL history at 3rd and 9. And that speaks to not an offense that's consistently then getting you those drives and getting you those yards every play and getting you into third makeable situations. In fact, it's actually on the complete opposite end of that scale, isn't it? If I can find it, I don't think I probably have it. But it was a cool little stat that definitely did show there that Seattle had from an offensive standpoint kind of an uphill climb there time and time again. Of course, I can't find it here now, but you'll just have to take my word for it. We were at 3rd and 9 was the average. And so that's going to go out the door, but that's also why were you in 3rd and 9s? Why were you in 3rd and longs in a lot of that, late era stage of Carroll's time here offensively? Because there was more of the onus on taking a little bit of the shot plays to try to bust the big runs at times. And so that sacrifice is going to go in the opposite direction now, Dune, and that should mean with it more improved consistency, more sustained drives, and yes, a better balancing of the time of possession with it. But it's purposeful. It won't be by accident. Nick says, I enjoyed Lucas's interview. Loved the dude's personality, laughing out loud. I did too, Nick. And he's built just like offensive linemen are typically built in that way. And they don't really want to talk to the media. That's not really their thing. They will do so begrudgingly. So this is, I think Damian Martinez takes RB2 from Charbonnet. Ooh, bold statement. Brian Myers be a disaster movie on that O-line. Yeah, that was an awful line. And Grubb with the play calling just made it brighter and more distinct. If an offensive player caller can mitigate some of that stuff in the best of times, in the worst of times, they make it worse. And Grubb made it worse. He really did. Jordan says, I think Cross will have an all-pro type season. Let's go, Jordan. I love it, man. I think he's right on the edge of scratching there. I do. MJC, humble and tough. That's a good offensive lineman. Yep. That's been the nice recipe for that type of guy in the past. And I love Cross. I love Lucas. I do hope he's going to be the part of the long-term future here. It is concerning a little bit when you do have somebody not good on the reporters to ask him the questions, a follow-up of, I think it was Michael Dugar asked him if, is the knee 100%? Are you fully healthy? And he's like, Lucas goes, well, nobody's ever 100% healthy. And you're like, oh, that means the knee's probably still a little bit dodgy, but hopefully it's as good as it can be. And the guy's in tremendous shape. I mean, he said he's 325 pounds and he's carrying it like it's 285 and how he looks. MJC has good OC, hides the weaknesses and exploits the strengths. That's right. That's right. And that's the reason that you have Grubb not here anymore now is it's not just that you're over his head, but that's what he did do, is that he put an offensive line that couldn't pass protect particularly well. And he said, okay, we're going to have you pass 70% of the time. What are you doing? You got a Laken Tomlinson here who's here mainly because if anything, he can run block and drive block and do that type of stuff. He's not a pass protector. So you're going to put that guy in pass protecting situations so very often. It just didn't make a lot of sense with why Grubb called the game he did. And it was just sort of like he was set on calling his game the way it was going to be from Washington. And here's my playbook, and I'm going to call it this way. And it has no relation to the talent I have on the roster. It has no relation to how good or bad my offensive line is. I'm just calling my playbook the way it is. And you can't be that way as an OC. You got to take it. You got to read the room, take the temperature of the room, know what you got, know what you don't got. And as you say, that's the difference of making a good or a bad one. And look at a guy like Kubiak last year. That's not a stacked Saints offense. It's got some decent parts here and there, but it's definitely on the weaker side from a talent standpoint of things. And yet he found a way early on when they were healthy to lean into what talent they did have, to lean into what they did do good, to maximize that to the ultimate, to throw 40 burgers on the points a couple times in that early season and get them playing better than where their talent was. Okay. Well, we're going to probably put a button on that one there, folks. I don't think we got any other questions in it. Definitely, I'm still, and I've seen some mention about Clowney. I'm still definitely in on Clowney if we can grab him, but we'll have to see on that situation how that thing plays out a bit. Dogzilla says, what was Laken Tomlinson's market contract? Did he sign elsewhere for? Dogzilla, he signed with the Houston Texans, and they signed him on a 1-year deal. Try to find it here. They signed him on a 1-year, $4.25 million deal. So that was as much, though, of course, their Dogzilla. That's because of the desperation Houston was facing with their offensive line. They let Laramie Tunsil go into trade. The line was just about as bad as ours was last year. So they were maybe even more desperate than us. Maybe it was even worse there. I don't know. Pretty bad, though, on that. All right, well, we will wrap up. One more question here. I got Brandon. Would a healthy first-year bonus, smaller first-year cap hit be possible? Save some money to get Clowney? Well, I don't think he's going to cost a lot of money at this point anyway. He wasn't on necessarily a monstrous contract with the Panthers. They did decide to release him out, it seems like, as much for financial reasons. But I don't think that he's going to get more than sort of I can't think that there's going to be a multi-year deal there for Clowney at this point. Number one, his timing of his release this offseason is going to come at a point where a lot of teams have kind of used their cap space up for the most part. And that the timing of it is that these deals are going to tend to be at this time of year that you'll sign the 1 year. You might get a little bit of money. You might get a $5-6 million, 1 year, $5-6 million kind of contract from Clowney's standpoint. But that's going to be about what you can hope to maximize it out to. Now, you could lower down that cap hit to your point even more by, pushing out like a void year into the deal, maybe you stack $2 or $3 million of that into 2026. And so you lower it down to like $3 or $4 million of this year's hit for Clowney. You could absolutely do that. And of course, we don't have a lot of void money on the book. So you've got a lot of opening to be able to go down that road if you want to do that, to be more aggressive and stack more guys into the roster. Yeah, Seth, I think Texans are definitely in a worse position of their O-line than us. And the Laramie Tunsil trade was just a very strange one. It'd be like us moving almost like us moving Cross. You're going, wait, what? You're going to peel away your one viable part? Cool Breeze says, at this stage, who is Clowney taking snaps from? So this would be a little bit more of a Cool Breeze to me, a bit of you find a creative way to kind of augment a little bit. This would be where you would look to make a supplemental move if you look to add Clowney into the ranks. And the supplemental move would be one of probably Uchenna, Hall, or Boye Mafe. And then some of that's going to be, especially if it's in Mafe or Hall's case, it's going to be informed a little bit by the fact that maybe the intention's not going to be there for you to sign them to long-term contract extensions. On top of the fact that let's remember with those two players, they're second-round players, they're good players, they bring something to this team, they do. But these are also players that are inherited in Mafe and Hall from Coach Carroll's designs of defense. And it's a part that we don't talk a lot about with this, but Mike Macdonald just inherited all of Coach Carroll's personnel. He runs almost a completely different scheme. There's things they do similarly, but it's still very much a different scheme than what Coach Carroll runs. And so, what Coach Carroll looks for from his edge group, what he looks for from his edge group to his power side edge, to his weak side edge, are kind of different skill sets than what Mike Macdonald looks for from his edge group. And so in Clowney, you have a guy that does fit exactly to what it is that, Macdonald wants from those power edges. And I'm just not as sure. I'm not saying I know it with certainty, but I'm just not as sure with Hall or Mafe that Macdonald views it in that same light with those two guys. He could, but he did inherit him on that. Phoebe says, and the protection scheme was awful, which was the reason Bobby Slowick got fired. Yeah, he definitely put Stroud in some poor positions. And Slowick had some of the issues going on that Grubb did, where there's really a lack of commitment to running the ball at times. And you got a guy like Stroud, and he can do so many things, and you want to lean on that, that's for sure. But you got to keep the Wolves at bay, man. You can't let those pass rushers just pin their ears back. I don't think Dogzilla Murphy's got to take any snaps away from anybody at the 3 tech, other than you're sliding Jaron Reed a little bit more into the 1 tech role, nose tackle role. between Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams, there's enough snaps at the 3 tech position between the two of them to essentially get them starter snaps. You're going to run 65 snaps over the course of the game. One guy runs 30, one guy runs 35. Murphy runs an additional 5 at the nose tackle, or Leonard runs some snaps out at edge. You can find a way to get both those guys plenty of snaps to where they're coming in and bringing impact, still keeping them somewhat fresh for the course of the season by not overusing him. But it would probably be Reed gets kicked a little bit more inside the nose tackle. There'll be a little bit of still Murphy at nose tackle. You're just trying to not have him there 24/7. Just to move him a little bit out of that place when you can here and there. We'll see how it goes, though. It's kind of a work in progress, I think, at this point on that side of it. All right. Well, we will wrap it up on that side and call it a good here today. We're going to come back tomorrow with another show I'm really excited about. We're going to be talking about Devin Witherspoon, 21 Savage himself, Spoon Tang. That's right. We're going to be going into him, and we're going to be asking the question, how good is Spoon? Another guy, I wanted to put the shows back-to-back between Cross and Witherspoon because I think these are both two guys that don't get kind of the claim to fame that they kind of should, both with the fan base and sometimes a little bit nationally. And Witherspoon is such a fun guy to watch on the tape and just fly around and do what he does. The Troy Polamalu comparisons from Coach Carroll when he was first drafted are very apropos on this guy because he's just moving around at a different speed. You know, they have the term playing with his hair on fire. That's absolutely what you get with Devin Witherspoon. I'm really looking forward to breaking down some of his tape with you guys tomorrow and hopefully really making the case that this guy is one of the better cornerbacks in this sport right now. Even without the 5, 6, 7 interception season that you typically would need to be given that title, he has gotten to that point. He is that good of a player. So we're going to be getting into him. We're going to be looking at Abraham Lucas on Monday, our 2 pillars here on the other side of it as well. We got a little bit of Kobe Bryant next week. We're going to mix in a couple of other shows in on there. So we're going to keep this going throughout this off season here into June. I appreciate you guys watching and hanging on in there with me today. One quick note I've been mentioning, just want to mention it here again, is that we've got a meetup going down here for the NFC West Roundtable. We're going to be doing that in early October. I've got a link down in the description section below here, down that link over on that. So if you want to join us on that, it's $300, but that includes the tickets to the actual game. We're going to go to the night before at a bar in the local area and have a big meetup there. We're going to be doing the tailgating before the game. Really looking forward to it. We've had a pretty good turnout with people buying the tickets. So if you'd like to join us on there, I know you're going to come down from Seattle. I know it's a Rams 49ers game. That's not the most exciting, but it'll be a really cool, fun event. And I'm really looking forward to going and checking that out. So you guys can get the details to that down there right in the description section. Again, too, we're going to be doing a member-only show on Sunday, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Keep an eye out on your community post, as that's where I will be putting that link. If you want to call in, just be open general discussion in regards to our Seahawks. Nothing happening to cover specifically, but we'll be going into that and deep diving on into that way with it on Sunday. So I look forward to doing that show with you guys on that side of it. I thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate everybody on this one for hanging in with the new format here over about the last month since we've clicked this into place. It's been very popular here. We're getting good growth off the back of it. I really like the fact you guys are hitting the like button on that. So I thank you guys for doing that and helping these shows out on that way. Going to keep them going through this whole off season. So keep riding with me. We're going to keep rolling. Got a stack of shows ready for you here over the next week and a half. We'll be coming back at you here at 12 o'clock. We'll be doing a surprise evening show next week too as well. Got to keep you guys on your toes. Got to keep you on your toes. But I do thank you guys for watching today. If you can for me, hit that like button. If you can for me, sub up. I really, really do appreciate it on that side of it. And like I said, we'll be back soon, less than 24 hours. So until that time, please don't you ever forget. Don't you do it. Don't you allow yourself to do it. Come on now. We're almost there. The off season is rounding its way. We're down the downhill stretch of it now. We're almost just a mere month away here from training camp kicking off. So you better be locked in and don't you ever forget. Don't you do it. Go Hawks.